Welcome back to the End of Days Chronicles channel. Are you curious about the significance of the Kaaba in Islam? Why is it considered the most important place and structure in the world? Why do Muslims pray facing the Kaaba? What is the ritual of circling the Kaaba all about? Join us as we explore the captivating history and beliefs surrounding the Kaaba. It is the central point of Islam and holds the highest reverence as the most important place and structure in the world. When Muslims pray, they must face the Kaaba. Muslim pilgrims visit the Kaaba and perform the ritual of circling it multiple times, known as tawaf. The Kaaba holds immense significance as it is believed to be the first building constructed for Allah, the one God, even though Allah does not require such a structure. Today, the Kaaba is encompassed by the magnificent Great Mosque of Mecca, also known as the Sacred Mosque. Islamic beliefs regarding the origins of the Kaaba differ significantly from non-Islamic research conducted with an objective standpoint. According to Islamic belief, the Kaaba was constructed by Abraham, the forefather of Abrahamic religions, under the instruction of Allah. This is explicitly mentioned in chapter 22 of the Quran. Muslims believe that Ishmael, Abraham's first son, was blessed with the Kaaba so that his descendants would engage in an annual pilgrimage and celebrate the sacrifice feast at the Kaaba. In Islamic tradition, Ishmael is considered to be of great religious importance and the chosen son, whereas the Bible, from which Abraham's story originates, states that Isaac was the chosen son, not Ishmael. Ishmael is depicted as a warrior in the Bible, and not as the one who inherits his father's legacy. Among Jews, he is often seen as wicked but repentant, while Christians view him simply as Abraham's other son with wicked tendencies. It is peculiar that Arab Muslims have made this alteration to the biblical narrative and beliefs, and subsequently assert that Jews and Christians have manipulated the Bible. There are additional differences, such as the portrayal of Ishmael's mother Hagar, who is described as Abraham's handmaiden in the Bible, but is directly referred to as his second wife in Islam. These changes likely occurred because Arabs assume they are descendants of Ishmael, while Jews are believed to be descendants of Isaac. However, we can delve deeper into this topic at a later time. Let's return to discussing the Kaaba. According to Islamic belief, Abraham built the Kaaba, and Ishmael was entrusted with its care. Over generations, it became a revered structure for prophets and believers, regarded as a lost house. This is why Muslims refer to it as Baytullah, meaning the house of Allah. The Quran also mentions it as the sacred house and the revered house, among other designations. The black stone, located at one corner of the Kaaba, is also believed to have been placed there by Abraham. However, during Muhammad's time, the Kaaba was under the control of Arab pagans, not Christians and Jews. Some Muslims and scholars close to Islam argue that Christians and Jews paid homage to the Kaaba, but there is no substantial evidence supporting this claim. As for how the Kaaba became a pagan site, Muslims explain that over time, people gradually deviated towards polytheism and idolatry, which may explain the presence of idols in the Kaaba during Muhammad's era. However, Islamic sources affirm that the Kaaba was dedicated to a single deity and remained an immensely significant site due to Mecca's status as a bustling trade center that attracted people of diverse beliefs. According to Islamic traditions and beliefs, Muhammad commenced his preaching at the Kaaba after declaring his prophethood. Subsequently, following his expulsion from Mecca and his migration to Medina, he returned to conquer Mecca and entered the Kaaba. He destroyed all the idols belonging to the pagans, cleansed it, and rededicated it solely to Allah. Interestingly, Muslims do not perceive the destruction of holy artifacts belonging to others by Muhammad as an act of aggression. Rather, they view it as a just cause because Muhammad claimed the Kaaba for Allah, his own deity. Reimagining the scenario of founding a new religion and altering the significance of the Kaaba in Mecca would undoubtedly cause a significant outcry within the Islamic community. This summary presents the Islamic perspective on the origins of the Kaaba. Now, let's delve into a more objective viewpoint outside of Islamic beliefs. To begin with, Muslims pray towards the Kaaba because it is commanded in the Quran, and because Muhammad did so. However, it is worth noting that this was not always the case. Initially, when Muhammad began his prophethood, he prayed towards Jerusalem, similar to the Jewish practice. Jews refer to this direction as Mizrah, meaning east, as it signifies the direction of Jerusalem from their diaspora's perspective. At that time, many Jews in and around Mecca also prayed towards Jerusalem. From an impartial standpoint, it appears that Muhammad adopted the practice of praying towards Jerusalem because the Jews were doing the same. He claimed that his religion shared the same origins as Judaism. Interestingly, the direction of prayer changed abruptly at a later time, shifting from Jerusalem to the Kaaba. According to the early Islamic historian Tabari, who wrote a biography of Muhammad, the Jews mocked Muhammad for adopting their prayer direction, especially when they rejected his message. This theory gains further support when analyzing chapter 2 of the Quran, which directly responds to people mocking Muhammad's prayer practice and justifies the change by stating that the initial direction towards Jerusalem was merely a test for the believers. Muslims prayed towards Jerusalem for years before this change occurred, raising questions about the nature and purpose of this test. Now, let's turn our attention to the history of the Kaaba. It is important to note that pre-Islamic Arabia was characterized by a lack of development, a primitive state, and a scarcity of written texts or significant literature. Consequently, it becomes challenging to gather reliable information about pre-Islamic history, and many sources tend to be biased towards the Islamic perspective. Islamic sources claim that Abraham built the Kaaba for Allah and designated it as a place for various Islamic practices, including circling it, fasting, and sacrificing animals. They consider it one of the most important aspects of Abraham's life and a significant place to Allah. However, the Bible does not mention the Kaaba at all. If Islam maintains that Allah is the same God as the one in the Bible, why is there no mention of the Kaaba in the Bible or Jewish traditions recorded in the Talmud? Why was it not considered important among Christians? The Quran even asserts that Allah instructed Abraham to establish practices like circling the Kaaba or performing sacrifices. However, Christians and Jews do not engage in such rituals. If the Kaaba held such importance to Allah, whom Muslims claim to be the same God as the one in the Bible, it would have been widely recognized and visited by Christians and Jews. Yet, there is no historical evidence of the Kaaba being significant to Christianity or Judaism before the advent of Islam. Only Islamic sources claim that Christians and Jews also revered the Kaaba, but no substantial evidence supports this claim. Consequently, many historians are skeptical of this narrative. Muslims argue that Jews and Christians have altered their scriptures, the Bible. But both Jewish and Christian religious authorities have a vested interest in preserving their faith. Therefore, it raises questions as to why they would purposefully remove references to the Kaaba from their scriptures, texts, oral traditions, or collective memory if it had any relevance to their beliefs. Because the Bible was allegedly tampered with, it is perplexing to consider how Christians and Jews could have accomplished such a feat, especially when both religions have numerous heretical sects within their ranks. Achieving unity within Christianity and Judaism on fundamental matters such as dress codes and the nature of Jesus has proven challenging. However, it seems remarkably easy to dismiss the veneration of the Kaaba altogether. It is implausible for all Christians and Jews, as well as any rational and mentally sound individuals, to accept such a notion. Moreover, the Bible contains accounts of Abraham's locations and journeys, with current illustrations providing approximate details of his experiences. These accounts indicate that Abraham traveled far north, while Mecca is not even remotely close to the locations mentioned. Furthermore, traveling to Mecca from those regions would have been arduous and seemingly purposeless, according to credible sources. Despite this, some Muslims attempt to argue that the Kaaba is mentioned in the Bible by referencing a passage about Abraham constructing an altar. However, the Bible records Abraham building altars for God in multiple locations, not just one. Unfortunately, those making such claims conveniently overlook this fact. Additionally, if Mecca and the Kaaba held such significance to Abraham's God, wouldn't the Christian Romans have seized the opportunity to claim them? Yet, historical records indicate that the Romans did not even approach the vicinity of Mecca, particularly after their conversion to Christianity. The farthest point conquered by the expansive Roman Empire was a place called Hagra, known today as Madain Saleh, which is closer to Jerusalem than Mecca. The Romans were known for their thorough conquests of important sites, and the desert dwellers would not have possessed the strength to stop them. Furthermore, Mecca is conspicuously absent from non-Islamic and non-Arab sources until the 8th century, when Byzantines mentioned it due to their interactions with the growing Muslim community. This refutes the Islamic claim that Mecca and the Kaaba were significant trade centers. While Mecca may have been visited by Persians and neighboring Arabs, there is no solid evidence supporting its status as a major trade center. In fact, all available evidence contradicts this claim. Consequently, many historians argue that the assertion of Mecca being a prominent trade and cultural hub was either fabricated or greatly exaggerated by Muslims, as it was primarily significant to the Arab population. If Mecca truly held such importance as a significant trade and cultural center, North African rulers, Romans, the Eastern Roman Empire, Persian empires, and others would have undoubtedly taken an interest in it. However, it is evident that no one, regardless of their beliefs, paid any attention to Mecca until Muhammad achieved success with his prophethood. Based on the available evidence, it is more plausible to conclude that the Kaaba was constructed a few centuries before Muhammad's time by Arab pagans, rather than attributing its creation to Abraham, Christians, or Jews. These Arab pagans were significantly weaker and less influential than early Christians, Jews, and other religious groups, as previously mentioned. According to Islamic sources, the Kaaba was reportedly filled with numerous pagan idols, including the prominent idol named Hubal, who was worshipped as the supreme god by the Quraysh tribe, to which Muhammad belonged. Surrounding the Kaaba, there were other idols revered by pagan tribes in the vicinity of Mecca. Surprisingly, Christians and Jews seemingly showed little concern about the presence of pagan worship within their sacred site, as they primarily focused on trading and purchasing goods. The Quraysh, being a tribe of merchants, frequently interacted with other Arab tribes who would bring their own idols to the Kaaba and participate in joint worship. Hence, it is evident that the Kaaba held significant religious importance solely for the pagan population. When Muhammad declared his prophethood and introduced the concept of the monotheistic God, Allah, the Kaaba served as the closest holy site to him. Initially, Muhammad did not place great emphasis on the Kaaba from a religious standpoint. However, as he faced increasing opposition and hostility from Christians, Jews, and his own tribe, the Quraysh, who firmly rejected his message, his interest in the Kaaba grew. It appears that his focus on the Kaaba was influenced by his pagan background and his conflicts with the pagan community. Muhammad gradually sought to diminish Christian and Jewish influences within his religion, while also attempting to alleviate the pressure exerted by the pagans in Mecca, who opposed his growing influence. As a result, Muhammad designated the Kaaba as the center of his faith and the direction of prayer, mimicking the practices of pagan rituals. He utilized this strategy when he conquered Mecca and claimed the Kaaba for his new religion. Interestingly, he reinstated certain pagan practices, such as circumambulating the Kaaba and venerating the black stone, which had been revered by pagans prior to Islam. It becomes apparent that these actions were rooted in pagan traditions and had no direct connection to the Bible, the God of the Bible, biblical prophets, or the principles of monotheism and Abrahamic religion. It is important to note that there is limited evidence available regarding pre-Islamic Arabia, but the existing evidence strongly suggests that Muhammad's interest in the Kaaba stemmed predominantly from pagan influences. From an objective, honest, and research-based perspective, there is a lack of substantial evidence supporting the claims put forth by Muhammad and Islam. Thank you for watching and support it. See you in the next videos. May God bless you.